Hello there! If you're new here, welcome to Race Pace, and if you're not, welcome back. Today's video would be exploring why, unlike Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton decided against using number 1 on his car as the world champion. As you might know, in Formula 1, all drivers use a fixed race number chosen by the drivers themselves. This concept was introduced in 2014 to increase the recognition of the drivers on the track for the fans. There is, however, an exception. F1's rules allow a reigning champion to swap from their chosen number to number 1 only if they are the defending champion. Interestingly, no driver has done this since 2014, when Sebastian Vettel did so after winning his 4th successive title the previous year. In the years after that, Hamilton has always stuck to the number 44, while Nico Rosberg retired from F1 after winning the 2016 World Championship. Meanwhile, Max Verstappen says he will run with the number 1 on his Red Bull when he begins his Formula 1 World Champion title defense in 2022. There is much to unravel about the reasons behind their choices. This is precisely what we would be digging into in this video. Before we continue, be sure to hit that like button, it only takes a second. Also, remember to subscribe to our channel and hit that bell icon to turn on your post notifications. This way you never miss any of our content on Max Verstappen. All done? Now let's get right to it. Number 1 is a coveted number that signifies excellence. This is for a good reason. After all, being the number 1 is no easy task. There's plenty of dedication and hard work that goes into being recognized as the best. However, since 2014, Formula 1 world champs had decided against swapping from their chosen number to number 1 as the defending champions for various reasons. Interestingly, the following season might be different as the Formula 1 world champion may appear on the grid with start number 1. Lewis Hamilton never did it, but Max Verstappen has immediately expressed his decision to temporarily trade in his starting number 33. Let's consider the reasons why. Originally, the starting numbers used by drivers in Formula 1 were assigned at each race by the organizers of the respective Grand Prix. Later, in 1974, permanent numbers were then introduced. From 1996 to 2013, the team numbers were ordered according to the positions on the Contesters' Championship of the previous season. Since 2014, drivers have been allowed to choose their own number in the Premier class of motorsport. That was the first campaign where drivers were asked to choose a number which they would run with for the remainder of their career. In the event that they win the title of world champion, they would then have the option to run number 1. This should be considered an incredible privilege, but Hamilton has preferred to stick with his number 44, despite winning 6 of the previous 7 championships coming into this year. His former teammate Nico Rosberg was the only other to have the opportunity, but retired after winning the 2016 title. When Hamilton made the switch from McLaren to Mercedes in 2013, he arrived with number 10. With drivers assigned a permanent race number under a new rule introduced in 2014, Hamilton's choice fell on number 44. According to him, he makes the decision to ignore the number 1 tag because the number 44 has a special meaning. Lewis Hamilton explains that the number has a significant meaning not just to him, but to his family. Quote, "When I started racing when I was 8, the license plate on my father's car, he had a red Cavalier, was F44. So Hamilton started using the number 44 as well. According to him, it was, quote, then it became the family's lucky number." Is this entirely why Hamilton decided against moving away from his current number and opting for number 1 when he was given the option to do so in 2015? Apparently not. The reason lies in only the meaning of the number 44, but there is something else. For that, we have to go back to 2009. In 2008, Hamilton grabbed his first world championship. After winning the title, he was forced to drive number 1. Quite simply, he didn't like it. In his opinion, quote, "It didn't look so nice on the car. Number 44 just looks much flashier." Aside from this, Lewis Hamilton has also revealed that there is some competitive thinking behind his choice not to run with the number 1 on his car, despite being the world champion. After always choosing to use the number 44 since 2014, that number has since grown to be synonymous with Hamilton and his brand. Even more, Hamilton shared that there is also a psychological reason for him not running with the number 1. He didn't view himself as the champions. In his words, "I don't consider myself the champion that year. I consider myself the one that's fighting for a championship." With Hamilton chasing his 8th world championship this weekend in a direct head-to-head against Red Bull's Max Verstappen, the Mercedes man said that he focuses on each year individually, rather than viewing this as a multiple title win. He commented that, "At the moment, it just feels like another championship for me." Further explaining, he said, "I don't look at it as a multiple. I always look at every season and every year, as you start from ground zero and you're fighting. You're the hunter and you're fighting from the moment you start training, the moment you get into a new year and you're training, focused on winning." With so many different reasons, it becomes easier to understand exactly why Hamilton has so far refused to take the offer to replace his permanent number 44 with the number 1. This still doesn't stop Max Verstappen from having a different plan. In the years before his first world title, Max Verstappen drove in Formula 1 with the number 3. The story behind his choice is quite simple. When he was younger, he considered the number 3 to be his lucky number. This would have been an obvious choice in F1, but the number was already taken by Daniel Ricciardo. Verstappen then went for the second best option, the number 33, which he said he chose for double happiness. As reigning world champion, Max Verstappen has the right to choose the number 1 for the 2022 Formula 1 season. Immediately after winning the championship in the finale in Abu Dhabi, the Red Bull driver already announced that he will change his usual number, 33. Right off the bat, 24-year-old Verstappen told us the day after his first world title that he had opted for number 1. The reason behind this decision is simply that he considers this to be a remarkable and possibly once-in-a-lifetime kind of opportunity. "I will indeed drive with the number 1, he confirmed after the win. "How often can you do that? I don't know, maybe it's the only time in my life I can do that. It's the best number out there, so I'll definitely put it on the car." He also mentioned that he considered it to also be interesting for marketing reasons, because of the new merchandise line that can be developed. Speaking jokingly, he said it's also good for the merchandise. We really can't argue this point. It only seems to be common sense, as a lot of fans who currently have a t-shirt or cap with the number 33 will of course also want their own merchandise with number 1. With millions of Dutch people watching Formula 1, this could also generate millions for Verstappen. If he follows through with this decision, Verstappen will become only the second driver after Sebastian Vettel to appear on the grid with number 1 since 2014. Vettel, who became champion on behalf of Red Bull Racing in 2013, was first and has so far been the only champion to choose number 1. In subsequent years, the title went to Lewis Hamilton, who decided to stay true to number 44, or to Nico Rosberg, who hung up his helmet immediately after his world title in 2017. It's apparent that these two outstanding drivers have very different mindsets, and as a result, Verstappen will do the opposite to Hamilton, should the Dutch driver win his maiden championship title, while Hamilton will race with the number 44 in 2022. Even if he wins the title, it's clear that Verstappen will run with number 1 on his car if he's crowned champion. Well, that's all we have for you today. What's your opinion about Lewis Hamilton's thinking behind not using number 1 on his car, despite being the world champion? Be sure to let us know your thoughts. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.